Hey, everyone. Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. I hope you are doing well. And I'm going to give my thoughts on a pretty significant piece of hip-hop news to drop over the end of last week. Many people have been simmering over this over the weekend, and that is the announced retirement of one Mr. Bobby Tarantino, aka Logic, as he says he is out of here. Final record, dropping Friday, no pressure, executive produced by No ID, which frankly I'm pretty excited about. But Logic goes on to say it's been a great decade, but it's time to be a great father. First reaction, first thought is, honestly, I want to congratulate Logic. I want to congratulate him on fatherhood. I want to congratulate him on taking that bull by the horns and deciding to directly involve himself in that to the degree that he feels like he needs to be a good dad. Again, big responsibility, huge life change. And if you have been paying attention to Logic's music over the years, you know that he has his own issues with how he was brought up and, you know, his lack of, I guess, sort of like a positive male role model and the way that his career and how it's progressed has led to him kind of, you know, mending a lot of bad experiences or I guess, you know, bad vibes, bad, whatever you want to call it, with his own dad and, you know, sort of working on that relationship. So I think for Logic, this move makes sense. Even if we do see a lot of rappers out there on the scene who have kids and they're still in the music industry. They're still doing their thing. They're still putting out records. They're still touring and, you know, having children and simultaneously staying creative and putting out new stuff and putting out your best stuff. It's still possible. You know, it's still very much a thing. You know, you don't have to have one or the other, you know, and one doesn't necessarily need to suffer at the hand of the other. I think this moment is going to be so significant for Logic personally that he's really going to need to sit down and focus on it and define how he is as a dad on his own terms. I think it's amazing that, frankly, he has been as forthright as he has been with this information and this change in his life, despite the fact that over the years, as he has gone more personal and has divulged more personal information about himself, he has been viciously, you know, ridiculed about it, memed for it. And look, this is regardless of what you think about his music or his own personal failings as a human being, which obviously there are some, but, you know, Logic isn't like this, at least from my, you know, own perspective and just observing him over the years, not a terrible guy, not an evil guy. Despite my criticisms of his music, I think there are a lot of personal attacks against him that do tend to go a little far and just are kind of unnecessary. You know, if you don't like the guy's music and you want to say what you want to say about that, that's fine. But, you know, there are some things about him and him personally and his perspective and, you know, his own upbringing and his own feelings on his biracialness that are his perspective, and he's entitled to those feelings. Though it's his experience. I mean, you know, why not more or less just respect that and allow him to, you know, sort of have that, I guess. Now, do I honestly, truly think that this is going to be the last Logic album, mixtape, song, anything feature that we ever hear? No, absolutely not. Absolutely freaking not. Not only because, as I said earlier, like tons and tons and tons of artists have figured out essentially like, yeah, I can have kids and still have my music career and find that balance. I see Logic as a creative mind, a creative individual, even if I'm not in love with all of his records. He's somebody who obviously has been making the music he makes over the years that he's made it because he likes doing it. I have a feeling that, you know, this desire to start creating again will enter the picture once more when Logic feels more comfortable and more assured of his own abilities as a parent, his abilities to sort of balance what his music career requires and what his responsibilities as a father require of him. And, you know, once he sort of hits that, I have no doubt that he will be back into the music picture. I personally would just like for that to sort of be on his own terms and just on his own pace, because I feel like at the end of the day, while the music industry does tend to move fast and, you know, 1 year, no album, 2 years, no albums in the internet age could feel like a decade of no albums. While that is the case, Logic does have a super devoted fan base, a fairly large fan base, and I guess a message and a vibe. I won't say a sound because I do think sometimes he can come off a bit derivative, but he has a message, a vibe, and an aura that I don't get off of a lot of other rappers. And I know that quality about him is quite magnetic to some people. And as a result of that, I think he can take this time off and come back, and there'll still be a need for it. There'll still be a demand for it. And, maybe after this experience, Logic will have a lot more to say, about his own perspectives on life and being a father and being responsible for another life, and how that sort of, has just changed his look on the world in general. I guess we'll see. I suppose there's also the question of whether or not what Logic is doing here with this announcement, is this just him doing PR for his new album, which I'm sure to some degree it is. And then there's also the news of Logic having inked a 7-figure deal with Twitch, signing to Twitch exclusively to stream with them, doing whatever he's going to end up doing on his streams. I don't know, could be gaming, could be music, could be something else entirely. So even though Logic is not putting out another album, so he says, past this point, he's not really leaving the public eye. So even if he were to end up returning to music, it wouldn't really be that big of a deal because there'd be no effort in kind of everyone refamiliarizing themselves with him, because he would still kind of be here. But, those are my thoughts. No way do I think this is the end of Logic's music career. And if it really, truly, honestly is, I would be surprised. I would really be surprised. All right, you guys are the best. Love you, love you, love you. Let me know what your thoughts on Logic calling it quits are, and I will see you in the next video. Over here next to my head is another one that you can check out. Hit that up, or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Logic, Bobby, no pressure, forever.